Broadcasting live from Avengers Tower on the plain of New York City, this is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome everybody to Tap Tap. My name is Graham. Joining me today, I have Ben.
That's a land.
And Wheeler.
I have one drink, and unfortunately, it's non-alcoholic.
And today on the show, ooh boy, we're talking about Through the Omenpaths and recent changes to Commander.
There's been some news. It's a good Magic News week.
Oh yeah, lots to discuss. But before we do that, we're going to quickly discuss what brought this show to you, which is our friends at Card Kingdom. Check out cardkingdom.com/LRR. Get yourself all the Magic cards that are printed on paper. We'll see how that changes over the course of this podcast. But yeah, they're a great place to buy your Magic cards. They're a great place to sell your Magic cards. And you can use their deck builder. This is really cool. You can just paste a deck list into their deck builder, and it will be like, oh, here's all the options for buying all the cards in that deck. It's a really cool tool. So check that out. Tell them we sent you. They'll give you a little button. At last count, they had run out of a Kingdom of Cards, and I was very remiss in sending them new ones, but they should have new buttons very soon, and I don't know which one they're starting with, but we'll find out together. Also, I want to shout out to Dragon Shield. Use the code LRRMTG5 to get yourself a 5% discount on anything on their store. Our store is still under renovations, but everything else that we do, including this show, is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Thank you all so much for letting us do this. Or I should say also by becoming a member of the YouTube channel, because shout outs to those members at the end of the podcast on the end card. So thanks, everybody. Okie dokie. So, yeah. I thought this would be the biggest news of the week, but then a bunch of Commander stuff happened. But last week, they released this article called Introducing Through the Omenpaths, which is Actually, I'm going to read this. So I consider Blake a friend of ours. I like Blake very much. I find this...
Highlander player.
Yeah,
One of
he likes Highlander.
He's inducing it at WotC.
Mm-hmm.
I find this opening thesis paragraph inconsistent, where he says, every time we release a Universes Beyond set, we get a similar question. Is this going to be on Magic the Gathering Arena and Magic Online? We typically handle this on a set-by-set basis with an answer that has either been fully yes or demonstrably no. For example, Lord of the Rings was, you couldn't get, for example, the 40k decks on Arena. It varied. Mm-hmm. He continues, we'd love for the answer to always be yes, but sometimes things don't work out. But all along, we've wanted a more permanent solution. And with Universes Beyond sets being legal in all formats, starting with this year's releases, we need a consistent and reliable answer. Enter Through the Omenpaths. I would allege that this is not a consistent and reliable answer.
All it is yes, comma, but not really.
Yeah, because
which is not a concise thing.
Because if the question is Final Fantasy coming to Arena, the answer is yes. If the question is Marvel Spider-Man coming to Arena, the answer is no.
But
no but. So Through the Omenpaths is basically they've encountered an issue where they've said that all Universes Beyond full sets starting in 2025 are going to be standard legal. We've already talked about that on previous episodes, and various opinions have been forthcoming to that. But that means that if they're standard legal, then they also have to be playable on Magic the Gathering Online and Magic Arena, because standard is a unified format across paper and digital, and people play both. People play either. People test on digital and then play on paper. It's all unified. So if it's legal in standard, it has to also be available digitally.
From a competitive standpoint, it's like you can go get to a pro tour from playing on Arena.
Yeah.
So ostensibly, everything in standard has to be on Arena.
Yeah. But for whatever reason, and they did not specify a reason, though it is heavily assumed that it is due to digital licensing of having a digital card game based on Marvel characters, Marvel Spider-Man cannot be reproduced digitally on Arena or MitGo. So Instead, they will be doing a Through the Omenpaths version of Spider-Man, which means a completely different set that is mechanically identical to Spider-Man, but flavorfully.
Wait, did you not hear about that?
No, I have.
It's just when we're talking about it.
It's just funnier every time.
Yeah.
So we did touch on this on Checkpoint, our video game news show on the LRRVG channel. But if for example, Spider-Man, who is a human spider hero, right? Means that there will be a character, there will be a legendary creature in this set who mechanically must be a human spider hero.
in Azorius.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think they spoiled that, or like one of the first cards they spoiled of it was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Who is blue-white.
Yeah.
So it's like this Azorius Spider-Man creature.
Yeah. And now here's the thing is that like when they first started doing this, people were like, well, we want the mechanical cards. We want the mechanically unique cards. We want the universes within version, they called them at the time. And they did that for The Walking Dead, and they did which was a secret lair, and they did that for Street Fighter, which was a secret lair, because those were like
And the Stranger Things ones, too.
yeah.
And the Dungeons and Dragons promos.
Right. Because they were secret layers, so they were limited availability. They weren't just that anybody could buy them. If you missed them, they were gone, and they were mechanically unique. And so they had committed to doing that. And so there are in-universe Magic versions of those cards, but it's a limited number of cards, and it's also like they're not legal and standard. It's commanders like, oh, my commander is this. Like, oh, I've never heard of that legendary, and it's like, oh, it's actually Zangief. Oh, really cool. Zangief was he became
Something
the
gladiator.
gladiator. Yeah.
okay.
Marinka?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the one that was turned into Bruce Tarl. Right?
Oh,
Wasn't Bruce one
that's
of the...
Honda.
Honda got turned into an ox herder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I saw someone talking on Blue Sky about Dalsim, which is like just a guy who like no one's ever heard. So like I think this is embarrassing. I'm sorry. Obviously no one at Wizards wants this. Obviously. But this is silly.
I think it's interesting because, like, I know that there's a lot of people like who work here that are like very medium on Universes Beyond in general and stuff like that. So an announcement that it's like, don't worry, you don't have to play with the Spider-Man cards. There's an in-universe version. You don't have to be like, I'm playing Spider-Man. You could be like, I'm playing John Spider, the Magic Man, or whatever, right? It should be hypothetically a win in a way, right? For the people that are like, I don't want to play, some friend. I don't want to play Rhino. I don't want to play Doc Ock. I want to play, something that sounds magical oriented.
Yeah.
But because of the nature of how this is sort of being done and implemented, it just sucks.
Yeah. Because they won't be printing paper versions of it. People have asked. They're like, oh, so can we get those on paper? And it's like, no, because they're not gonna do that. Like the silver lining for me is that like a bunch of artists are gonna get paid, and a bunch of creative text people are gonna get paid to come up with like legendary creatures you've never heard of and will not care about. It's called Through the Omenpaths, so I assume it's gonna be very core set of just like the everything across the multiverse. It's gonna be like, well, this could be on New Capenna, so I guess we'll do that. This, I guess, could be a Kaldheim character, so we'll do that. It's going to be just a mishmash of stuff.
I'm worried too that it's like, because it's like, for a lot of the times it's really exciting when a character like when Asmarana Martica and Kuldakar got put into Modern Horizons, people were like, oh, like it was very exciting, right? Like, because they're like, that character from the Stone Gargoyle flavor text, right? Like, super pumped, right? I hope that doesn't end up being the case with this. Like, it's like some characters, like a one-off thing that has not, as in the Magic lore, has not gotten a Magic card printed, and then ends up becoming the alternate art for Dr. Octopus, Like, I don't know. That's just, that would feel bad to me.
I mean, Magic from a flavor standpoint, Magic has a long history of sort of, in one set they'll mention someone they'll like attribute a quote in a couple flavor texts to a legendary creature who isn't in the set, and then years later in revisiting, it'll be like, oh, that person now gets their own card or whatever. But they're raiding the fridge much faster than they're stocking the fridge.
Sure.
And like they just don't have. They're gonna run out of like cute references if they haven't already.
Yeah.
Right. I see you grinning.
How's it going, buddy?
I mean, what the hell are we doing? Right? Like, you're right. It's embarrassing. Never felt so vindicated over my opinion on this whole process. Even after turning over a leaf and being like, yeah, UB, whatever, who cares? As long as it's all I care about is if it is fun to play with. And if it's consistent. Because even if it is consistently Spider-Man, at least I will learn to know what Spider-Man does.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to look at the card and be like, oh, that's so-and-so. And now it's just a mess. And it's a mess in Standard.
Yeah.
Like and it's a mess in Standard on your like onboarding game.
Yeah. Right?
Like a lot of Arena is there to get people playing Magic the Gathering. Right? And now they'll be like, wow, I really like Wingus Dingus, the card from this Standard product. Can't wait to maybe I'll try playing Paper Magic and go to my local shop and ask for a Wingus Dingus.
I feel like everybody who works at Scryfall collectively sighed at this.
Oh.
Right? Where it's just like, now you've got to link these two cards because somebody undoubtedly is going to be like, brewing on Arena or whatever, and then it's like making up a list or whatever. Or even going to like anybody who works like at, like Card Kingdom, for example, right? You're going to like, someone's going to type in, I want, they're playing from Arena and they're going to be like, I want Spider John. And they're like, Spider John doesn't exist. It's like, did you mean Spider-Man? And they're like, oh wait, this card does the same. Oh, is that what this? And it's
and
I don't know.
I know that I'm in a unique scenario. Like I don't pretend to speak for for everybody, but like I only play Paper Magic like here in this context, right? Like I don't play a lot of Paper Magic at the store or amongst friends because it tends to be that we do it for camera. When I'm playing by myself, it's all on Arena. And so it's going to be real weird to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing Spider-Man videos here and then Arena, playing Arena at home being like, oh right, it's this.
I'm going to love having like 5 separate deck lists for a single deck where I have one for like recording and filming here, but I can't use that because if I try to use that on my stream, it'll be like, oh, this card doesn't exist. And then so I have to have one where it's like, okay, this is the version in paper, this is the version online, which that's really cool and good and great to have to point to different things. And also I love like spreading views and numbers. Very cool.
And I talked about it briefly as well, but as I saw Brian Kibler posting about this, that like pros, even if they're not qualifying through like the Arena qualifiers or the Mitgo qualifiers, they'll test digitally because it's just faster and easier. And so they'll be testing Standard with totally different cards than they're actually playing with in paper.
Yeah.
Because they haven't formally said they are not going to print these in paper, but they certainly haven't said that they are, and the assumption is that they won't be. So one only exists in paper and one only exists in digital. So there's no chance of doing any kind of crossing over.
I guess I just sort of hope that they at least will put the because I don't think they've shown anything from this, but like if the Arena cards at least are kind of done like how like the Ikoria cards and stuff were, where it was just like they had like the Godzilla cards where it was like this character, but they are like in the frame it has like but they're this thing.
I doubt they will, honestly.
But it's like they have to do that for the entire set.
Yeah.
But God, it would shorthand so much because then at least that it's like programmed in that if I looked for Spider-Man, it would bring up Spider John. I've settled on this, by the way. I'm running with Spider John.
On the plus side, we only have to deal with this for like 2 years before inevitably it fails and they change their mind. Because this is Wizards does this kind of thing all the time where they put something forward like this to try and solve an issue that shouldn't have been an issue in the first place. It has a terrible reaction or terrible reception. And then a couple years later, they're like, hey, we're doing something else. And it's like, okay, well.
Because they've said it could be any number of UB sets going forward. We don't know. But they've said that it definitely is every Marvel thing. And this is meant to be a multi-year partnership.
Yeah.
So I assume either two different departments were not fully communicating, or they just assumed that they would be able to hash out the legal fracas to get the license to do this digitally, and then this is an expensive fallback for them. This is, unless everything in the set is going to be slush art, which I really hope it isn't, just stuff that artists that they have kicking around in the art direction drawers and about oh, this could work,
They're gonna give it the Horizons treatment of a bunch of slush art. No, there's no way, right? It is costly to get the licensing, right?
Yeah.
Either it's too expensive for them to get it, or they just flat out said no. And usually in the world of business, everything is possible as long as the price is right. So they're not willing to shell out the money to have the licensing for this. Unless it is just they're going to say okay, we will spend the money to get an extensive creative team and the artwork, new artwork, or for a majority of this product, which that doesn't sound like Wizards of the Coast to me. No. Spending money when they don't have to spend money, and so they, we see it we've seen it done on Horizon sets, we've seen it done on, we've seen it done on standard product too, or online product, right? The Pioneer Masters or whatever Masters or Alchemy products.
Yeah. A
lot of them do just have art that is
we had this art.
We paid for this art 2 to 4 years ago, and might as well use it. Yeah.
Do you think, do you have a preference either way, if they will go just fully all right, well, we're through the Omenpaths, we're not even gonna care at all about what the relationship is to the Spider-Man set. We're creating new characters, we're doing new references to other Magic things, or do you think it's going to be full of sly references, right? Will Dr. Ock will Doc Ock become a artifact creature cephalid, right? Are they going to try and be haha, get it, because the real card is Doc Ock, right? Or are they going to have it's not J. Jonah Jameson, it's Jornus Jiminy Jumps, right?
The guy who works at the
who works at the New Capenna Courier, right? Are they gonna do you think they're gonna go one way or the other, or do you care?
I don't care. Yeah, it's a wash.
Yeah, it's I could see this being a fun product where it's they through the Omenpaths, and then they structure it as a, hey, let's take a deep look at let's take a top-down look at this plane, right? And so it's
that'd be sweet.
It's coordinated by some character who's maybe not necessarily on a card or whatever. It's we'll call him John Spiderman or whatever, right? And they're cool, this through the Omenpath is about call time. We didn't get to spend much time on call time, and there's no story necessarily or anything like that, but just a bunch of characters.
It's just more lore.
Yeah, and things that can interchange beyond that, right? So if it's a Spider-Man one, then yeah, I think they're hey, we kind of shot through New Capenna. Let's take a look at New Capenna a little bit more, and because it's a New York City kind of thing, right? And I would love if that was the case. So it's this Omenpath thing will be Omenpath New Capenna. This will be Omenpath, so and so.
It could go down that route because New Capenna did not make money, and so they have this world that they can kind of plaster. If all of a sudden they said hey, there's actually robot cephalid, you were mentioning, or I know we already have the editor-in-chief for this newspaper, but what if there was a second one and it's just all New Capenna cards or New Capenna themed, because we're probably not going back to a paper New Capenna. just it didn't make money. People didn't like the set. But they got the world that lets them lets them utilize stuff that they already have in the cupboard.
Yeah, like you said,
right?
there's probably tons of New Capenna art assets that never saw the light of day, so they can just kind of
exactly.
throw it in there. But yeah, like I think I'd be more interested if they structured around a plane as opposed to just here's the dude from
Corset
OTJ.
Scramble.
The Corset Scrambler. Yeah, exactly. But even then, I think I'm in the same boat where I'm just like, this is such a whiff that I'm like, I just don't care.
Yeah, I mean, when I say that would be sweet, I mean that through the lens of a thing that is stupid, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would be cool given the options available.
Yeah, like if they treated it as like a, back when like D&D would like put out like guide to this world, or like just like an art book or whatever. If it was kind of treated like, hey, come along with us, we're going back to New Capenna, you can see here's another form, and like each card just sort of like ties in with that, and I think that would be kind of neat without you having to do any sort of story writing, any like implications of like what this means on the grand magic sort of scheme. It's just a look at the plane, and then at least these cards have some sort of semblance of story together.
I will say, not to try to sprinkle some positivity into this.
That's
Please
fine.
do.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's just usually not my role on this podcast.
Well, fair enough.
But it is nice, as somebody that does play quite a bit digitally, to know that I will at least receive these sets in some shape or form online, and gives me hope that maybe this will also give them a way to bring the Dr. Hoomst cards to Magic Online, or get around whatever wacky issue they had with 40K that prevents, put the cards online, but said don't use this for cube or whatever. Like it just, because this has this has an impact on formats that see legitimate play. Like, I mean, not to call Legacy legitimate, but there are cards from Doctor Who that show up in Legacy that you can't play on Magic Online. And there are cards that you talk to like any, cube player that plays in their own time or has their own curated like vintage cube or whatever, and it's like, oh yeah, we have these like 6 40K cards that are staples that you can't play in the like premier way to play vintage cube.
I wonder, because a potential hurdle for the 40K thing, because it'd be great to get those cards on Arena and MITGO, certainly on MITGO, because people play, like Highlander and Commander there. Is like the Necrons are creature Necron, right? But only those cards care about creature type Necron. So I guess if they invented a other different artifact creature type, I don't know what name you would come up with, because you can't just make them like zombies or robots, because those are other cards that cards outside of the 40K decks care about. So you'd have to come up with a new thing for Astartes, a new thing for Necron or whatever, and reskin them also that way. So they wouldn't necessarily be mechanically identical, but they'd be mechanically identical enough that it would work.
Yeah, often, I mean, those creature types only pop up
in those sets,
in those sets, caring about those other creature types. And as long as you're like, okay, well, moving forward, every Astartes is just called Starty Party or whatever, you'll find a way.
The other thing that I saw, I think this was Tim Willoughby brought up, is, and I'm going to use the same example actually, James, if you could bring this up.
If we could
take a look at Dalsim from the Street Fighter sets. Was that I will give him this, as we have done many times in the past. In the UB sets, when they're doing top-down design, boy, do they nail flavor in terms of what the card can do. So Dalsim, Pliable Pacifist, this is from the Street Fighter Secret Lair. 2 green-white for a 1/3 human monk with reach and teleport. Dalsim, Pliable Pacifist, has hexproof unless he's attacking. Whenever a creature you control with reach attacks, untap it, and it can't be blocked with creatures with greater power this turn. And Fierce Punch. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Right? So he's got teleport, because that's a thing that Dalsim can do. He's got Fierce Punch. That's one of his moves, right? You've got this top-down design, sort of like, the flavor words. Now, if we look at the Universes Within version of Thaddeus Juniper Ascendant, he's exactly the same, all the same mechanics, but without that sort of top-down design to make it all cohesive, it can feel like it's just sort of a bunch of stuff. So he's got reach, he's got hexproof unless he's attacking. Whenever a creature you control with reach attacks, untap it, it can't be blocked. A creature with greater power, and one or more creatures you control to combat damage to a player, draw a card. Like, it works. It works together. The abilities still, like, interface in the right kind of way, but it doesn't feel as, like, clean as, like, oh, okay, because that's his move, and then you've sort of developed this out of his move. It's just sort of like, yeah, this guy does a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't know. Do you feel that way?
I mean, wouldn't Dalsim feel that way? Like the original card, if you didn't know who that guy was?
Yeah. But I mean, I presume you're not racing to buy the Street Fighter cards if you don't know Street Fighter.
Yeah, I mean, playing against it or whatever, or like the appeal of, you're on Scryfall, you're at your LGS and you see it and you're like, wow, that's a lot of words. Yeah. Why? This is just a guy. And like,
I guess, yeah. But I guess there are plenty of Magic cards that are just full of words. That
but also, stuff. Just like, I don't know, maybe they just had this art lying around.
This this one is the most egregious, in my opinion, of it. Right, like the like we were talking about the Hondo one, right? Like Hondo's whole thing is it's designed with this like 100-handed slap. That's why he's like
sumo spirit and 100-hand slap.
Yeah, so it's like as long as it's your turn, each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. He's a big dude, and then like 100-handed slap, which is like one of his more iconic things. It just like makes all your creatures like really bigger and it can block up to 100 target creatures, right? And even in his Universes Within version, the idea here is like, at least to me, this reads he's got a lot of oxes and they're all blocking together.
Right.
That at least tracks to me. There's the other one that's the Ken version of the card. They're like something of smoke and fire.
Oh, Alicia of Spark and Flames or something.
Yeah. And at least in that one, it's like they designed Ken's card around the like Shurioken sort of aspect, and I think that's what's on there. At least with her, it's like she's like this, I think like Prismari dancer kind of like thing, right? And so it's all about like casting instants and sorcery. So that at least looks, like I can imagine this character doing what they do. When I looked at Juniper Friendo here, I was just like, I don't understand why you do any of the things you do. I mean, it seems like you're the most benign art-wise of the cards because that's all you get realistically. Yeah. Right, for these Universes.
Also, like,
it's the art has to have some sort of tie-in with what it does.
There wasn't a Stranger Things character that they could use that art on.
Sure.
And so they...
Yeah.
But also, like, you've got... These are, we mentioned the times they've done this before, and there's like not even 20 of these cards, right? It's like 6, maybe not quite 30, right? Because it's like the Street Fighter, Stranger Things, Walking Dead, the D&D movie promo ones. And is that it?
So maybe I might be forgetting one or two.
We assume they're going to do Lara Croft at some point. She was the only mechanically unique one in her secret lair.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is a whole set.
It is, yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see. Like, yeah, I mean, the Walking Dead ones too. I think were really one of my favorite ones is the Haunts Slayer Zealot, which was the Universes Within version of Daryl, and it was just like
Daryl.
Yeah. Daryl, but it just like he was a zombie slayer guy, so they made some dude from Innistrad who like. He was fighting zombies on the card and shooting zombies with a crossbow. And even the Stranger Things ones, they're all like Thraben Inspector looking.
Yeah, they're all Innistrad.
Right? And they all care about investigating and stuff. But yeah, that Juniper one is definitely the most egregious. I'm like, I don't understand why you do any of what you do.
I guess if you can find sort of a through line that makes it work, and just from talking about it earlier this podcast, I can definitely see them going like a New Capenna route for the set in New York City specifically. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. So yeah, that's through the Omenpaths.
Stinky.
It's very silly, and it didn't need to happen. And it's like I said, I'm not like I'm not reveling in Wizards having to do this. It's very obvious they did not want to have this happen either. Nobody enjoys that this has to happen.
It's kind of funny though.
But it is a little funny. But they also announced recently some changes to the Commander ban list.
That's why we're here.
What?
Yeah, and a little tune up of the beta brackets.
Yeah.
So yeah, what went down with Commander?
Well, we unbanned obligatory. My words are from me, not from the entirety of the Commander format panel. We
Gotcha.
are not a monolith,
Yep.
and I may have statements that do not reflect the
group as a whole.
group as a whole
Yeah.
or the actions made by the Commander team on Wizards of the Coast. So we made a bunch of stupid unbans.
There are 5.
There are 5 unbans. Gifts Ungiven, Braids Cabal Minion, Sway the Stars, Coalition Victory, and this one's at least a little near and dear to my heart, Panoptic Mirror. Yeah, quite literally the card that I joined the CAG 3 years ago. I was like, yeah, I want to unban this card. Makes no sense. And basically my explanation at that time is word for word what is in the article for this.
Which was what? Why did the what?
Well, are we going to do you want to go through the individual cards?
Let's go through these. Panoptic Mirror, 5-mana artifact. It's got imprint, X, and tap. You may remove an instant or sorcery with converted mana cost X in your hand from the game. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may copy an imprinted instant or sorcery and play the copy without paying its mana cost. So you put you pay a cost once, you put a card from your hand under the Panoptic Mirror, and then every turn you get to cast that card for free.
Yeah, and you can put multiple cards under the mirror and select different cards.
Oh,
as
wow.
well.
You just keep doing that.
Yes.
Neat.
So, and just for some context too, all these cards were banned between the time frame of 2005 to 2009.
Yeah,
So
I've never played with or against any of these.
They've been banned. Yeah, very few people have. So initially, Panoptic Mirror was banned at a time where, quite literally, this card was banned because of cards like Beacon of Immortality, a sorcery that doubles your life total, or throwing an extra turn effect or a Wrath of God or mass land destruction stuff. Like these very powerful cards, game-changing cards underneath the mirror and getting to do it every single turn. The issue is that, one, cards have just gotten better. Players actually play interaction and whatnot. Which means that you can very handedly deal with an artifact, especially a 5-mana artifact.
I was going to say, what if they just destroy your Panoptic Mirror? Then you lose it and the card.
Yeah, and like you have multiple turns, like a turn cycle to deal with it. So like the play pattern with this card is often you play this card, you get to your own upkeep, and then you activate it, imprinting the card on your upkeep, so you get it immediately. So for the cost of 2 cards and 5 plus X mana, you get that effect once, which is already a huge cost. Obviously, if it's an extra turn card, then they get an extra turn after this and they can kind of loop that. But still, your opponents have a huge number of decision points of how to engage with this, when to engage with this, and or to engage with it at all, from the evolution of the cards played in Commander. Not to mention the problematic play patterns associated with this card that kept it banned for a long time. They're problematic without Panoptic Mirror. Like, if somebody wants to take infinite turns, there are so many ways to do that by means that are less vulnerable than this. And also, that's kind of dealt with through the social contract as well as some of the ground kind of rules, or rather the guidelines set out with the game changer list and expectations towards including those cards for brackets.
Speaking of which, these 5 cards were unbanned, but immediately put on the game changer
Immediately
list.
on the game changer list.
Yeah.
So if you're worried about somebody taking extra turns, they were already taking extra turns, and you could already have that conversation of I don't want to deal with that.
What's the cheapest is the cheapest extra turn spell that you can exile from your hand at this point like 5 mana time
the time warp
time warp and friends, there's a cycle of 5 that just do the damn thing. There is a 3-mana one called Savor the Moment that says you skip your untap step.
Sure.
If you're taking infinite turns, you're probably going to figure it out anyways. But importantly, the reason why this card was banned, or one of the reasons why this card was banned, that is something that is already dealt with through the guidelines provided with brackets, as well as just, I don't know, if you sit down, you're like, I'm playing a deck that takes infinite turns with Panoptic Mirror. It's like, cool, I'm finding a different pod to play in or whatever, right? It already gets dealt with. And so putting it on the ban list is just, it doesn't matter. Like the people that want to take that kind of game action, they can. It's just, they'll find like-minded sickos to do it with.
All right. Let's take a look at Gifts Ungiven, I guess. 3 and a blue for an instant. Search your library for 4 cards with different names and reveal them. Target opponent chooses 2 of those cards. You put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest into your hand, and then you shuffle your library. So you look for 4 cards, 2 of them in your hand, 2 of them in your graveyard. I remember the only time I think I've seen or played against this card, I can't remember exactly what the cards were, but it was sort of like, they were like, here's 4 cards, and it's like, oh, I lose. There's no choices I can make where you don't get the cards you want. Yeah. I don't recall exactly how that worked at the time, but I just remember being like,
the iconic one. It was good old fashioned Storm, right? Like Gift Storm and stuff with like Past in Flames, because like all the cards are like basically most of the things that they would put in the bin all have like flashback, or the cards that would go in hand have the ability to grab the thing out of the bin and stuff. So that's kind of the play pattern with gifts.
You said old-fashioned thing. I'm like, oh, Ben's going to pull out the Hanakami Soulless Revival. Goryo's Vengeance loop.
No.
Yes. Yes.
Hell yeah, Goryo's Vengeance. So,
I mean, Past in Flames at this point, man.
Yeah.
So
it's getting up there in years.
So why was this a problem originally, and why is it not a problem now?
Because in a singleton format, this is a tutor that more or less gets around the restriction on the card. And yeah, in a time where there is less interaction, right? 2005 to 2009. If a player chooses to assemble a combo, and everybody's tapped out, they got nothing to do, they're going to be able to assemble a combo and kill people with this card. And so that's why it was banned. Part of the reasons why it is unbanned, much like all the other cards, there are multiple reasons. One, it's cool. It's a fun card to play. It's a card people want to play. And it's a card that people want to play for reasons that are not degenerate. Like, it is a cool card to just find your 4 favorite cards.
Yeah,
right.
I am in the same zone as you. I like to put tutors in decks so I can go get my idiot cards.
Yeah, you want
so I can go get the game ending combo.
You want to show off what you're doing, or be like, here's a handful of things. What do we want to do? It's also collaborative for what it's worth, which gives it some extra points. Like if it's us 3 versus James, and James is running away with it, I could be like, hey, Graham, I'm going to cast Gifts Ungiven. Can you help me out?
Right.
And you get to go like, well, I want you to find the card to deal with James, but I don't want you to be in too good of a position.
Right.
So I'll help you out if you don't find like thing that deals with James plus Haymaker or whatever. Like, that is a cool interaction to have that takes advantage of the multiplayer, the nature of the game. Also, it's 4 mana. And like it does there are spots where this card can just win the game. But saying it just wins the game, especially when we are looking at this card at a higher play or a higher power level or a higher bracket, ignores that it's so incredibly telegraphed. Right? It's a 4 mana spell that uses the graveyard, that does put a choice into a player's hand. Like, if you are finding a very common pile for Gifts Ungiven, involves Thassa's Oracle. And creating a Thassa's Oracle pile, the cheapest pile that you can find is still going to be 5 mana. It's often 5 mana or 4 mana. And uses the graveyard and involves reanimating creatures and casting spells with certain mana costs and certain card types. And so even though it does, if everybody's tapped out F6 doing whatever, they cast this and they win the game, Cool, that's CDH. That happens all the time for reasons other than gifts ungiven, and for reasons that are often less telegraphed than gifts ungiven. So there are definitely points in which you can engage with it. And then if this card is too messed up, like if this card, there's a lot of concern from the CDH crowd, or some concern, and it's the darndest thing, is that whenever this card gets brought up, it's always about complaining about Thassa's Oracle and Underworld Breach. And this is my opinion, not the opinion of the Commander format panel. It's like, yeah, maybe Underworld Breach is the problem. Turns out better Yawgmoth Swill is a problem. And so, like, if this is a case of we are freeing this card that has a lot of fun to it, history, like the what you do with it, how broken it is often dependent on what you find and what your opponent finds and all that, or gives you. Like, that's cool. We want that. But if introducing this brings to light that, like, hey, maybe Underworld Breach is too good, who would have thought? Then yeah, ban Underworld Breach, right? Or ban Thoracle. There are different ways. Like, gifts should not pay for the crimes of Theros Beyond Death.
Right.
I guess.
Cool. All right. I can't remember what else is next.
Coalition Victory?
Coalition Victory. It's 3 white, blue, black, red, green for a sorcery. You win the game if you control a land of each basic land type and a creature of each color.
So the idea here, if I recall correctly too, is that one of the big things was they didn't want this card to be an auto include in 5-color decks, because it just meant, like, if you had your commander out and this, you, like, ostensibly you probably have everything you need for it.
Yeah. It is a card
because
that
you don't need 5 individual creatures. You just need one creature that's 5 colors.
You need one creature that's 5 color and then domain.
Right.
Which with triomes especially has become a lot easier to hit. But it is an 8-mana sorcery that requires you to make real considerations to your mana base, to the colors in your deck. Like, obviously you have to be 5 color, to the cards you're including. And you have to do that at a play level, like a bracket level, where there is something of an expectation, like somebody may have a Blood Moon or a Back to Basics or whatever, or some kind of non-basic land hate. And so, like, people often say, like, it's a free roll, but, like, there is a genuine cost at the bracket that these cards pop up in. Not to mention that, like, this is an 8-mana spell that can be dealt with through, like, a creature removal, like a bounce spell. Like, 8 mana is a lot of mana. And if they have domain, a creature to, meet the qualifications of this, cast an 8-mana spell, and nobody has anything to say about it, or somebody does and they happen to have, like, Force of Will or some kind of protective spell, then sure, they cast an 8-mana spell, had another thing, had a 5-color card, had all this. Yeah, you win the game. Like, sure, you can have it, which is anticlimactic at times, but once you get to those higher brackets, there is an expectation of, like, people are going to have these big cards that look to win the game or end the game.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine too that, like, at least from the games that I've played, whenever you're talking about, because this obviously went right onto the game changer list, when you're talking about I'm playing, we're playing this or whatever, unless you're playing, I think 4 and above, you're usually telling people what your 3 or whatever game changers are.
Yeah.
And so if you're playing a 5-color deck and I know that you have you told me that you have Coalition Victory, that is a thing that I consider when I'm playing against you. Now it's like, now you've got your commander and you've got domain. I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep, like, some kill spell or something like that open, or a bounce spell, or that's magic. Like, it's like if you're up against a aggro deck, right, and you've, like, board wiped them or whatever, and you're at 3 life, you're probably going to hold up a counter spell in case they have bolt. Like, these kinds of things, right? So, I don't know.
Not to mention, there is a bit of a difference between a card that just says you win the game and a card that effectively wins the game, right? Like Crater Hoof Behemoth, a lot of the time wins the game.
Yeah.
This card just says win the game. Approach of the Second Sun is one that I like to mention, which is a 7-mana card that says you win the game, that is really easy to pull off in Commander, and yet you don't run into it that often because it's kind of boring.
Yeah.
It's just like it's not at satisfying. And that acts as a way of kind of restricting how often you run into this card. It's like, not only do you have to meet all the qualifications, not only do you have to be in a bracket level where you are either telling your opponent you have it, or they don't care what game changers that are in your deck because they got 1 million, you got 1 million, and this is an expectation, but also has to be something you want to do.
Right.
And like, there are a lot of people that play Commander even at higher bracket levels, not to just win the game, period. They want to win the game with blank.
Right.
Or I want to win the game this way. And so they might play this and be like, why do I feel empty? You know, they thought there was chocolate inside that bunny, but no, that bad boy's hollow. Like, it's
What a great analogy.
it might not be what they want. So maybe it'll pop up, but I imagine there's a lot of self-regulation that comes with cards like this.
Okay.
Braids.
Braids, Cabal Minion. 2 black for a 2/2 legendary minion. At the beginning of each... Great news for Eric Peterson, by the way.
Yeah.
2 different arts, I just noticed. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices an artifact, creature, or land. Hey, that sounds miserable.
This is a 4-mana 2/2 in 2025. If you can't remove this thing, what are you doing?
Yeah, this card's I mean, I agree with Ben, but also this is one of the cards where I would not mind if this had stayed on the ban list.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't think it's that big of a deal if it's off. There is a little bit I have a bit of an issue with how the messaging surrounding legendary creatures as game changers.
Oh, yeah.
And the messaging behind Braids especially.
Okay.
Because Braids is at its scariest when it is a commander.
Right.
Whereas a lot of the commanders that are game changers are at least the current mindset is that a lot of them are very good in the 99 as well as being like a big problem as a commander.
Like,
Urza Kinnan, Yuriko, Grand Arbiter, Augustine the Fourth,
Right.
are the big ones. And we actually talked about other legendary creatures. Like we talked about Joda the Unifier, we talked about Korvold, we talked about some other crap. And ultimately we decided like we, need to really cement what it means to be a legendary creature on the game changer list, right? Because Joda, miserable to play against, really powerful. And in my opinion, people do not recognize how good it is. They can look at Joda and be like, I'm going to put in bad legends. And it's like, cool.
You're still getting a free creature every turn.
Yeah. Your bad legend gets +12/+12 and cascades into more bad legends.
Yeah.
And they cascade into more bad legends.
this is
et cetera,
Joda
et
the
cetera.
Unifier?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is your legends get +X for each other for all the legends that you have on the field.
Yeah.
And whenever you cast a legend, you cascade into a legend.
Yeah, it's really good.
Hey, that's gross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5 mana 6/6 by itself, and then you just cast free spells and things. Yeah. Anywho,
What the heck?
so
Forgot about that.
yeah, there are a bunch of these broken legends that we did talk about, some more than others. Like Korvold, in my mind, never a game changer, but something like this, Joda, I could see as a game changer if that is the messaging we're looking to put forward. But the messaging was that, it has some kind of relevance in the command zone and in the 99. And some of the commanders are only ever an issue in the command zone. Like you put Joda in your 99, I don't have to deal with Joda on turn 3 every game or whatever. Put Yuriko in the 99, and I'm okay with that. The part about Yuriko is she always costs 2 mana and is uncounterable and instant speed, whatever, right?
Right.
But Braids in the 99, not really an issue. I'm okay if you have Braids in your 99 and you just like happen to draw it or play it on turn 4 or whatever. The play patterns of this card late game are not that bad. It's when she is your commander and you have Dark Ritual and
on turn 1.
Soul Ring, get it out ahead of schedule and then start eating people's mana bases. Especially because while more players are playing removal, a lot of the removal that starts to see widespread play is at 3. right? Like I've been telling people to play Lightning Bolt in your commander deck for a bajillion years, and people still don't listen. But like, you know, they include their Stroke of Genius, Generous Gift, Beast Within. You get a couple at 2 or less, like Reality Shift or Swords to Plowshares. But even something like Path to Exile, it's like, great, you just let me cast this card the very next turn through accelerating. And so that's kind of a pisser. It is dealt with at the and Turgrid's another one on the list. And this card has similar-ish vibes with Turgrid. My issue is that even if it's on the Game Changer and you're going to kind of like be able to narrow down who actually wants to play with you, right? People that are showing up to play against Braids, now that we have these communication tools, now that we have this bracketing system, it's like you kind of know what you're getting into, and if you don't want to play, you don't have to play. But like Commander players are really bad at the game, and especially and I mean, it's not a big issue. It's not a big issue. Right. It's the best part about Magic the Gathering and Commander is you can be terrible and play, and it's a blast. But they're really bad at understanding threat evaluation and of card evaluation, and that goes for judging their own capabilities and also judging their ability to deal with another person's set of threats or whatever.
The YouTube comments have been telling me I have bad threat evaluation for like 6 years.
So Braids...
Yeah. Listen, I'm just saying, here's what you do. If somebody is about to like turn 1 this Braids from the command zone or Soul Ring, you just slaughter Pact on turn 1. You just slaughter on that turn, or Pact of Negation. Yeah. Don't pay the thing and walk away.
Just walk away. Just walk away.
You won that game.
Yeah,
you are the winner. Of
I
that
counter
game.
your Braids. I do not pay for Pact of Negation. Have a good rest of your game.
Good night, everyone.
So my issue, I guess, isn't mostly with Braids as much as it is with like what are we communicating by putting Braids on the Game Changer list if also we're kind of up in the air about what we're going to do with legendary creatures on the Game Changer list as a whole.
Right. And
if it is just like, hey, well, at the end of the day, you don't have to play against it if you don't want to. Like I'm an advocate for that mindset, but you say that over and over and over again, then eventually you're going to be like, well, why aren't we just saying this for everything? Right? Why aren't we saying this for more cards or whatever?
And our last card from the unbans, which I've never even seen this card before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sway of the Stars. This has been banned for so long, I've never seen it. 8 blue. So it's a 10 mana sorcery. Each player shuffles their hand, graveyard, and permanents into their library and draws 7 cards. Each player's life total becomes 7.
I love this card, dude. I've been looking with the amount of jank that you and I bring to like Commander nights and stuff like that. The amount of times I've looked at Sway of the Stars and been like,
So why was this a problem originally? Was it just like, oh, now we're starting from 0, but everyone's at 7?
It just restarts the game.
Yeah.
It's anticlimactic. It doesn't make for a fun experience.
Like, it still seems like it kind of sucks.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why it's unbanned is like, hey, this sucks. It's not very powerful.
10 mana.
We unbanned Worldfire a while ago, 2024, I want to say, 2023, sometime then. And who cares? It's Worldfire. But Worldfire, for people that don't know, is like a 9 mana sorcery. You get rid of everything in play, everything in the hands, and everybody's life total becomes 1. Worldfire, if you're including it in your deck and you are building around it, then when you cast Worldfire, you are likely setting up to end the game. And often in a way where it could be you winning the game and it could be somebody else. And that's a part of the chaotic fun. If you're not doing that, you're an asshole. And being an asshole often gets... it kind of regulates, how much Commander you play. Because if you're a big jerk and you're doing stuff like that, people aren't going to want to play with you. And maybe if you're able to, recognize that even slightly, or you're just like, wow, I'm just not playing this deck as much anymore. I wonder why. Then you might stop running Worldfire. You might start, if you are playing Worldfire, you're going to play it with purpose. And so Sway the Stars, if you play Sway the Stars with the idea of doing nothing and just resetting the game and wasting people's time, like, yeah, you might be a bit of a jerk. Or if you're casting it with the idea of like, I'm going to play this card and have something on suspend, like Joyra, is it Joyra playing this card? Like that can make sense. Or if you're doing this and your deck is built around like being like very aggressive, so you get everybody to 7 and then you're going to actually win the game. Like you're going to try to pop off because you can float a bunch of mana, cast this, and then do something.
Right.
There are ways to play this card.
This card's cool
and build around it, and it still kind of sucks, and that's appealing. And then lastly, this has been a conversation internally for a long time about like, well, what do we do? Like, do you ban Wheel of Fortune or Time Twister, and then have to deal with all the other draw 7s, or like if Time Walks become an issue, what do you do? Do you ban every Time Walk? That's a lot of Time Walks. There are a couple of cards that effectively reset the game. The Great Aurora, Warp World to an extent.
Karn is illegal.
Yep,
Yeah.
Karn Liberated. Like other cards that do this. And so for the sake of consistency, a lot of these cards, it's just better to be like, well, there are multiple ways to achieve this effect. And we also want to keep printing this kind of effect in, some capacity. So let's just get rid of all of them off the ban list and then tell people like, hey, don't be a jerk. And if you are a jerk, the people you're playing with are probably going to recognize you're a jerk and they'll stop playing with you.
All right.
Yeah.
And now they're all on the Game Changers list, which also had more stuff added / taken away.
Yeah.
Yeah. What changes? I know that we're maybe running a little long today, but what changes were made to the Game Changers?
Well, 2 cards were taken off.
2 cards were taken off.
Really? Which ones?
Trinisphere was taken off.
Really?
Which, if you'll remember the podcast that we had here, even when we were talking about the Game Changers, Trinisphere is like, okay, like this card only really sees play at a bracket level where you don't care about how many Game Changers you have.
Right.
So making it a Game Changer doesn't really make sense.
Okay, fair enough.
And then Trouble in Pairs is the other one.
Oh, right.
Yeah. This one is a bit more contentious among some people because it is a card, 4 mana enchantment in white. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. And whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. So this card is quite good. It can draw a ton of cards and often gets compared to Smothering Tithe or Rhystic Study. It is not Smothering Tithe or Rhystic Study. Those cards draw so much, Smothering Tithe doesn't draw cards, but they generate so much more value that you cannot play around. It's unreasonable to say like, well, just don't cast spells, 5-head, or like always pay the 1 or always pay the 2. It's like, brother, tell me you haven't played a game of Commander without telling me you haven't played a game of Commander. It's like, you got your own stuff to do. You're playing spells. You're not, you will feed the fish one way or another. And it's also just like the onus is on them. Because every time you draw a card, I have to be like, do you pay the 2? And you have to go like, I don't know. Do I pay the 2? And there's like that just... Doing that over and over again for every player really slows it down. Whereas a card like Trouble in Pairs, if you draw your second card, it's on my responsibility to go like, oh, I draw a card because you've drawn 2 cards. Which makes it a little bit easier. Not to mention, this card does have genuine application that is nice. Like being able to...
Stop extra turns, I think, is really cool, too.
Exactly, yes. Being able to stop extra turns is a nice thing to have, especially because the other card that does that literally just says you can't search your library, which is pretty miserable.
My only real issue with this card, and it's kind of in the same philosophy that I know that Rachel preaches a bunch, is it goes down a line of cards that make me have to pay way too much attention to what's going on in the game right now.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
the amount of thing I'm like, did you attack with 2? Did you draw 2? Is that your second spell this turn? Like, there's so many cards like this coming out that are like, if they do this, then this, or if this happens, then you do this. And I'm just like, buddy, I just want to play some cards and then like I don't know. Go eat a sandwich in between turns.
The decks that I play this card in,
Yeah.
I have like 2 of them. Both of them are mono white. One of them is literally built around having a very large hand size, and both of them are effectively tapping out every turn.
Yeah.
So the only F's I give, my brain couldn't think of a
Are the
proper word.
sevens that-
Is well, it's just like my job is done. Now I just need to like focus on this and block.
Yeah.
and that makes it a little bit easier.
Sure, that's
We
fair.
we have upcoming. We have a thing with a bar cube. The conceit of it is that like you can play it at a bar because it doesn't involve any like counters or tokens or anything like that. I kind of want to put together a commander deck that's just like I can just shut brain off when not my turn. Like none of my creatures can block.
Oh, yeah.
Like right. It's just like I'm done my turn.
Challenge
and,
accepted.
And I cannot interact. You
Challenge
know.
accepted.
Yeah,
I like that.
That sounds
That'd
great.
be a fun. That'd be a fun.
It'd be a fun night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fun Friday
Try
night
and
paper
see,
fight. Yeah.
So there was a ton of cards actually added.
Wow, sweet.
Yeah. So in white,
I'm gonna give
Thank
my.
you.
I'll either do
and
thumbs up
down?
or
Okay,
thumbs
all right.
down. Yeah.
In white, humility.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
That one I'm indifferent about because it's
But and then the second one in white, Teferi's protection.
yeah, that one I'm okay with. That one.
Yes, I agree. I'm not gonna have a lot of opinions on these, but that one I agree.
That one I was admittedly a little bit mid on because I do think that it is good to have more tools, especially ones that aren't 1 mana that say hey dude, slow down.
Yeah.
But that one's overcooked. Like there's too many words on that card.
Yeah. This one I was surprised about. Consecrated Sphinx.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Yeah.
That is an interesting one to me because they bring up the issue of like cloning a consecrated sphinx, and then you get into the trade secrets or collusion, kind of like, well, I'll draw if you draw, and then 2 players just get to draw their deck, which is like, if that's the issue, should we just ban this card? Like, should we just get rid of that card? And the reason why you haven't is that people like it.
I love
even if it is a collusion engine.
Yeah.
People like that card, and it is 6 mana, so it's a bit of a
Collusion
Dumbo.
engine.
And then obviously Gifts Ungiven and Sway of the Stars. Intuition was added.
I thought that was already a game changer.
To be honest, me too. Yeah.
Which one's intuition again? Sorry, we're still seeing Trouble in Pairs in here. I don't know what the viewers are seeing.
It's a 2 and a blue instant. You find 3 cards, an opponent puts 1 into your hand, 2 in the yard.
Okay.
They could be different names. They could be the same name, but it sets up Underworld Breach combo.
Okay.
And then the last one from blue is Narset. Parter of Veils, the 3 mana one.
That's part of a blanket hit at all the cards that tell you can't draw extra cards, and I like that. It's just like, you look at that and you're like, oh, this is going to stop people from drawing a bajillion cards. And then in practice, it's going to make me feel like an idiot for including Harmonize in my ape deck, right? Like these cards have the same opposition agent factor
Right.
of it's just like, haha, I'm stopping Demonic Tutor. And then Tammy is like, oh, my nature's lore. Like, oh, I wanted to play the game. Or like, I guess I'm an idiot for playing Evolving Wilds in my like budget deck.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black, there were 3 new ones.
What? Nothing on red?
No, there's red.
Oh, we haven't got
Red.
there yet.
There's
Oh,
red.
sorry.
I'm just kind of going top to bottom on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Black was we're going in Wooburg.
I know. I jumped the gun. I'm sorry.
Brains,
Sorry, everybody.
obviously. Necropotence got added.
That was
Makes sense.
That was one when immediately when the Game Changers came out, both Rachel and I pinged Gav and are like, so no necro, huh? Like, and it's like, you know what? On us, we didn't see it. We missed it, but no necro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, Orcish.
Like having missed that this was on the original. Should have been on the original.
It
list,
should
you
have
mean?
been on the original. When we published the original, and it's like, great, good job. And we look and I'm like, oh, we forgot Necrobones. Like that kind of
right.
vibe.
And then last Orcish Bowmasters.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I hate this stupid card.
Red. This one bummed me out, but I completely understand. Deflecting SWAT.
Hate it.
Hate the card or hate that it's on the
I
list?
hate that it's on the list.
Yeah. Okay,
I get that it's really powerful. People hate free spells. And, I've seen a lot of comments saying, like, it's nice that there are brackets that you can play without caring about free spells. Get over it. Like, it's in my opinion, this is the kind of card
It's a redirection spell, though.
Well, exactly. And when people talk about like Jeweled Lotus, when it got banned, they're like, oh, now I can't play 6 mana, 7 mana commanders. And it's like, well, you still can. There are other ways of getting a bunch of mana that are not as degenerate. But like, the issue isn't casting the first one. It's that when you do, and someone's like, "Oh, Swords to Plowshares," and it's like I feel like an idiot for trying to play a big creature. And cards like Defecting SWAT let you feel a bit more comfortable tapping out for your Kamigawa Legend because you can at least have some kind of insurance.
And then the other one, like both the red ones, actually bummed me out. Gamble.
Oh.
Yeah. Gamble's a weird one because Gamble's a lot of fun at lower power levels.
But yeah, it is a one mana. It is a 1 mana DT.
It's a 1 mana tutor. Or well, if you're me, it's Entomb.
Sure.
Which is pretty good. Pretty good.
Still also, a second Entomb, pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was red. Green had 5 added.
Oh. No.
Yeah.
Why?
Crop rotation.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Food chain.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Natural order.
That was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about adding creature tutors beyond the fifth one, which is Worldly Tutor. And people were talking about finding like Green Sun Zenith and Finale of Devastation and Tooth and Nail and all these cards. And I'm like, hey, how come we haven't talked about Natural Order? Like that's 4 mana Find Your Hoof or like Find a Troxa or whatever. Crop Rot, don't get it. We've already added all of the busted lands as game changers. So what is Crop Rot doing? Like, I get that it's don't get me wrong, it's crop rotation, but like it is very weird that like we have Glacial Chasm, Tabernacle, Field of the Dead, all of that, like, and we're putting Crop Rot on here.
Yeah,
doesn't really do anything. And Food Chain similarly, it's like Food Chain shows up at the higher level brackets and is dealt with by the whole like, hey, do you have an A+B combo, which Food Chain is.
Right.
And so like if your answer is yes, well, like you're probably not playing your Food Chain deck in bracket 2, but maybe a little bit salty because I have like a dope like Evoke Food Chain, like, cheat out the big thing to hard cast my Aether Snipe or my Spite Bellows.
Right.
But like there are cool things you could do with Food Chain at bracket 1 and bracket 2 that are absolutely not CDH Food Chain.
Right.
And the only other one that we didn't talk about, Seaborn Muse, which while it doesn't necessarily surprise me because it's basically it's
like Profit Accrual.
it's a worse profit.
Right.
It's still like why this and not whatchamacallit, the artifact that does effectively the same thing.
Wait, which one?
Not like an Unwinding Clock, I guess.
Unwinding Clock is
it's not exactly the same thing, but I don't know. Seaborn Muse seems a little harsh.
Muse is in my consecrated Sphinx category of like, I either just don't want this as a game changer, like maybe there was a discussion to have this banned, but people like this card so much. It's just wastes a lot of time, is like absurdly powerful. But
multicolored, there were 3. Coalition Victory, obviously. Notion Thief.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think most people saw Aura Shards coming.
Yeah,
Aura Shards.
This card sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my god, yeah, wow. I'd forgotten about this card, but now that I've reread it, this card's brutal.
It plays into my previous point of Commander players are bad.
Yeah.
But no, it's just like I have been in games where somebody plays Aura Shards and the only they play a creature and like the only artifact on the table is like my Signet or like my Thought Vessel, and they're like, well, I guess I'll blow up that. I'm like, you don't have to. You may destroy, and they're like, yeah, but if I don't, then it feels like I wasted my card. And it's like, okay, but if you do, I'm not a part of this conversation anymore, right?
I'm not playing the
I'm not
game
able to really keep up or play.
Your own Aura Shards.
Yeah,
Remember, you can always blow up your own Aura Shards.
Honestly, based.
Aura Shards, for those keeping score, because it's an older card. It's a 1 green white enchantment. Whenever a creature enters under your control, you may destroy an artifact or enchantment.
Yeah, there are ways to deal with heavy artifact and enchantment decks that are one shot or, not this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last 3 are in colorless, obviously, Panoptic Mirror, which we talked about, Field of the Dead.
Yeah, this card's overdue. I can't. The Unreal Magic card in Commander.
Yep.
And then finally Mishra's Workshop.
That was a me.
Yeah.
That was a like.
Which makes sense because this is a U card, but like
Well, this and Necro were the like, hey, so this land adds 3 colorless mana, and like you won't run into this that often because it costs $4,000, but or some amount of money, but like it is kind of wild that. I don't know. I could just see this card popping up at lower brackets or not being like tracked and, well, brother, like if you've ever wanted to cast the messed up Karn on turn 1, here's your way to do it.
I get that. I'm sorry. I know this is not relevant. I'm looking at the art.
Yeah.
I can see that there's like smoldering trees and there's little eyes of little beasties around the thing. What is the thing?
Well, why don't we check out what are the other arts?
No. There's a Magic Online art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what is...
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That answers none of my questions.
Yeah.
What is that?
I don't know, dude. Antiquities is a weird
Isn't
set.
Mishra's Workshop though? Isn't it the one that has like the summer, the
That's Mishra's Factory.
factory? Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's not actually a card. It's an oversized promo.
This one at least looks like there's assembly
Robots
workers
at
like
the assembly line.
building something, I guess. The other ones are just like weird shapes.
Although I will say these
with
are
smoke.
these are more Urza robots.
Yeah.
and Mega Complete.
Yeah. Yosha and
Yeah,
fucking dudes.
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I overall I'm super on Team Game Changer list. Like I love it. Makes it feel a lot like Canlander. But also just like the ability, it kind of puts some thought process into decks. There are ones that I have to actually go and change now because of some things that have been added to this Game Changer list. R.I.P. Gamble. Yeah, I'm really excited to see that already in the first sort of like check in with this. They're like, here's like 7 cards, and we're even going to get rid of some that were on there and stuff. And so it's going to be this constantly cool evolving thing.
And not to make this podcast any longer than it needs to be, but we did also, one big thing is that we also made an announcement that we are not making any other bans or unbans. No, like, unless, well, asterisk, unless it's like Nadu.
yeah. Specifically the Nadu. It was a specifically named Nadu addendum.
Yes.
the Nadu. I had the word. And I lost
Contingency?
it. Contingency.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Because we, contrary to the comments made by the sweatiest people you could ever imagine, this takes time. It's a constant conversation, pulling data, working with multiple teams, like, because we want to get this right. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that we're not rushing things out the door off of like vibes or whatever. I mean, some of them, but you know, it's we're trying to do this properly.
You had a bad couple of games against this card, and now you're like, now it has to go because I'm within the power to do so. Like,
and look, we're all human. There are instances where that pops up in the Commander format panel, and you need that time to be like, okay, so now you've had a week. How do you actually feel about humility? Or what?
It's
fine.
They released a revamped version of the bracket graphic.
Yes.
Which has some better, clearer wording. You can find that on your own. Some of the wording you might have seen. Rachel Weeks did her own version after the initial bracket graphic, and this incorporates some of that. Were there any actual functional changes to any of the brackets in terms of what is or isn't allowed on any of them? I don't think so.
No, I think specifically they said this hasn't been like they showed off like the numbers and the reception and stuff like that. But they were like, it's still too early, I think, to wham jangle.
Yeah, we did toss around ideas of like additional brackets and like changing the names to better communicate like what we are expecting, and they did mention like the issues of calling one of the brackets referring to like upgraded precons because you know the strength and power level of precons may fluctuate down the line.
That's true.
So we don't know. But yeah, attaching that to we are taking our time to make sure that we do this right, so that you know. People don't get all death ready again.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a little the one thing that did super stick out to me that I was like, we'll see, was they were talking about the unbanning of Jeweled Lotus. As a watch list kind of thing. And I'm like, man, if that card gets unbanned, like I think
To be clear,
it
is more just there are out of all the cards we talked about, and God, I hope I'm not breaking NDAs, but out of all the cards we talked about, the one card that did pop up with some people being like, yeah, I could see this coming back was Jeweled Lotus.
It was written in the article. It's like,
Yeah.
this is the one that would like it was such a good article. Just at this point, you've listened to us talk about it for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Go read these 2 articles, both about the brackets and about the unbanning.
Yeah.
Because they're really well done, because every single card is talked about.
Yeah.
And broken down and stuff like that, and it's really, really cool. But I appreciate that they were like, it seems like in general they want to do it in a way that everyone is getting as much information as they can, because there's the understanding at this point, WotC, especially since they're in control of these formats and stuff like that, they understand that their Magic cards have money, and there's a secondary market. They're obviously not allowed to directly correlate to it.
Yeah, they get
But
it.
I think more than ever, after like massive, the things that went on last year and stuff like that, they're just like, we can't just willy-nilly do this anymore. So there's a lot of conversations happening. I think it's great.
Great. Well, hey, thank you both for joining me today for all of this. This was
a lot.
This was a lot,
big news.
But I'm glad that we talked about it. Reminder that we are sponsored by Card Kingdom,
Spider Joe.
Spider John.
Spider John.
where you can get all the paper Magic cards that are not through the Omenpaths, because those are not being printed on paper. But you can get other stuff at cardkingdom.com/LRR. Putting the LRR on there does help us out a lot, because it shows Card Kingdom that we're sending people over there, which is the whole point of the endeavor. Then they keep paying us. It's great. Shout out to Dragon Shield using the code LRRMTG5. And, of course, everything that we do here is brought to you by you and your support of our Patreon, or by becoming a member on this YouTube channel. And we thank you very much for doing so. Until next time, I have been Graham, joined by Ben.
Gamble.
And Wheeler. James has been on tech. And we will talk to you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.